Okay, I'm going to talk about non-games, which I've kind of defined as, well, video games is a sort of subset of video gaming culture. Video games with sort of associated culture becomes sort of mass market, mainstream pursuit. Something that you hear people say quite a lot now, so I think it goes around the industry now grosses more on an annual basis than Hollywood. Whereas non-games is a sort of subset of that, kind of deliberately subvert or even ignore the sort of mechanics of the medium. Whereas video games tend to kind of simulate some sort of exciting alternative reality outside of our own. A non-game is what happens when actual reality fights back. Advanced Lawnmower Simulator is the sort of great-grandfather of all non-games. It's the sort of Citizen Kane of non-gaming, if you will. It was originally released in 1988 on the ZX Spectrum, and as you can see, it claimed to be a powerful and accurate lawn mowing simulation. There's 6 lawnmowers, none of which worked apart from the patio sprintette, which we can currently see in action. Play consisted of simply holding down the M key until the lawn had been mowed, which would take approximately 15 seconds. So it's kind of one of the sort of enduring legends of the 8-bit home computer era, and it's kind of since then appeared on a lot of different platforms. There's a version on Facebook at the moment, which you should, I'd definitely advise you to check out. What we have here is Takeshi no Chosenjo, Takeshi's Challenge. This was released in Japan in the 1980s on the Famicom. It was designed by Beat Takeshi Kitano. This guy is a sort of popular Japanese celebrity. He's been in films like Zatoichi, Violent Cop, or Takeshi's Castle. Anyway, the legend has it that he came up with this game, the idea for it when he was drunk, the day after he trashed the offices of a Japanese gossip magazine. The game actually warns players. This game was made by a man who hates video games, and sure enough, it turns out to be a sort of punishing and extremely unforgiving non-game. Failure to complete any of its minor details will make the game impossible to complete. In order to complete the game, you must at one point put down the controller and not touch it for over an hour. Of course, the game doesn't tell you this. He plays a sort of disenchanted salaryman who decides to abandon his everyday life and seek buried treasure in a faraway land. So as you play through the game, you have to close your bank account, get drunk at a karaoke bar, divorce your wife, quit your job, drink tequila to replenish your vitality, beat up an old man, buy a gun and go hang gliding. Throwing 20,000 punches in the opening screen cuts all of that out, short circuits right to the very end of the game, where the end screen says, good job. There's a 5-minute pause, and then this disembodied head that we just saw there says, why did you take this game so seriously? In America, magician Penn and Teller in 1995 released Unleashed Smoke and Mirrors on the Sega CD. It's a sort of epic, real kind of pinnacle of non-gaming. It had various sort of sub-games in it, like Mofo the Psychic Gorilla. However, the kind of pinnacle was a Desert Bus. It simulated the 360-mile drive from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada, and it did so in real time. The maximum speed of the bus is 45 miles an hour, so the actual journey would take you, or does take you, 8 hours. No passengers, no scenery, no traffic. The bus veers slightly to the right at all times, which prevents the player from resting a book or sellotaping the accelerator pedal down. If you veer off the road, you crash, of course, and you're rescued by a pickup truck which tows you back in real time. If you do make it to Las Vegas, you're awarded 1 point and you're given the option of driving back. This is Progress Quest. It doesn't even have graphics. It's actually a 0-player game. You simply pick the statistics, press the button and watch the gameplay itself. It's kind of obviously a sort of parody of role-playing games. There is a version of scroll bars called Progress Quest 3D. This is Baito Hell 2000. It's on the PSP in Japan recently. It's a kind of collection of absurdist mini-games where you sort of do menial tasks in real time, like putting the caps onto biros in a factory for as long as you can possibly stand. So there's kind of a pattern emerging here. You'll probably notice the sort of cornerstones of non-gaming are a sort of like an absurdly mundane task, sort of unintuitive use of timing, disruption of time, lack of any sort of coherent reward system, and mindless repetition. Where would we be without mindless repetition, of course? Who knows? EnviroBear 2010 is another very recent example of the genre. It appears on the iPhone, and it is a bear hibernation simulation. So you can see that over time, kind of the graphics have increased. They don't have to. Yeah, the bears drive. You have to sort of drive your car around, collect nuts and berries before you hibernate. In this screenshot, you can see that I've actually crashed into another bear who was out driving that day. It takes a long time to realise that you can't actually touch the accelerator pedal, and you have to put a brick on it in order to drive around. Okay, this is Nobby Boy on the iPhone. It's really hard to describe. I would describe it as a collaborative, mixed reality, experimental virtual toy. One of the meanings of Nobby in Japanese is stretch, and you essentially just play, a stretchy worm creature called Boy. You swipe the screen on your iPhone and you stretch, you earn points, you give the points to Girl. Everybody in the world gives their points for stretching to Girl. Girl grows, she eats planets, she started off on Earth and ate the Moon and Mars and Jupiter. So it's very hard to describe. It's kind of a sort of virtual toy. It's got texting, photography, music player all built in, and so yeah, it's kind of transcended. It's kind of transcended common sense in a lot of ways, and that's kind of where non-games, I suppose, are at the moment. Graphically, as basic as they ever were, because they don't really care what you think they look like. Okay, so that was just a really quick kind of overview of the genre, and I guess all I would say is that you should, if you get the chance to check one out, it's kind of refreshing to know that even in an arena as rampantly commercial and ridiculously corporate as technology, there's still an undercurrent of something anarchic and subversive. Thank you.